Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have a great show for you tonight. Over here standing by with his guitar is Mr. John Cornett. How are you, John?
I'm good, Paul. Thank you very much.
Very good. And right next to me is my joint host, Casper Leach.
Happy Friday.
The joint captain.
It is an honor to be here this evening. Thank you, Paul.
It is as well to have you here. And we will be running a few film clips, one from Jorge Cervantes about seeds and clones, and some other video clips. And we have an interesting hemp news segment. We'll be back in just a moment with our hemp news and John's music. So stay tuned as we bring on our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
All right, our first story tonight is from the other Portland, Maine. The voters in Portland, Maine will decide in November whether to legalize the possession of marijuana within the city. The Portland, Maine City Council on Monday voted to allow residents to vote on November 5th on a referendum which would make it legal for adults 21 and older to have up to 2.5 ounces of cannabis, according to reports from the Associated Press. It would still be illegal to consume marijuana in public. Supporters turned in more than 2,500 signatures to the Portland, Maine city officials back in May. The city council on Monday decided to send it to voters rather than simply adopting the ordinance. This ordinance, if passed, would conflict with both U.S. federal law, which prohibits marijuana for any purpose, and with Maine state law, which allows cannabis, but only for patients who have a doctor's authorization for medicinal purposes. Possession of less than 2.5 ounces of marijuana is a civil violation in Maine, punishable by a fine of up to $200 to $400, according to Nick DeLuca at Bostonova. Our next story is from Michigan. Last week, the weight of brownies and other marijuana-infused foods cannot be counted toward total weight limits on cannabis possession under Michigan's medical marijuana law. A Michigan State Court of Appeals ruled last Friday. In the first ruling of its kind, a three-judge appeals court panel ruled that marijuana edibles containing THC extracts from cannabis are not usable marijuana as defined by the 2008 Voter-Approved Act, according to the Detroit News. The ruling stems from a case in Oakland County, Michigan against Chambers, as was erroneously reported by a medical marijuana patient and caregiver, Earl Carruthers, and who was charged with possession of cannabis with intent to deliver following a January 27, 2011 traffic stop. Registered caregivers who grow marijuana for medicinal purposes in the state of Michigan are allowed to possess up to 2.5 ounces of cannabis for each, for a total of 5 registered patients, or a maximum of 12.5 ounces under the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act. Our next story tonight is out of Philadelphia. The use of cannabis is associated with mitigated symptoms of opiate withdrawal in subjects undergoing methadone maintenance treatment, according to a data that was published online in the American Journal on Addictions. The investigators at the Farber Institute for Neurosciences at Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, assessed the use in 91 opiate-dependent subjects undergoing methadone maintenance treatment. Researchers found that subjects seeking methadone treatment who acknowledged a history of cannabis use reported significantly less daily expenditure on acquisition of opiates. The authors additionally reported that subjects' use of cannabis during the treatment was associated with less severe symptoms of withdrawal on the clinical opiate withdrawal scale, an index designed to serve as an objective measure of opiate withdrawals. According to the authors, they wrote, quote, increased cannabis use was found to be associated with lower severity of opiate withdrawals in a subset of the sample with available chart data. These results suggested a potential role for cannabis in the reduction of withdrawal severity during methadone induction. They concluded, quote, "The present findings may point to novel interventions to be employed during treatment for opiate dependence that specifically target cannabinoid-opioid system interactions," end quote. A 2009 study, also published in the American Journal on Addictions, reported that moderate cannabis use improved retention in naltrexone treatment among opiate-dependent subjects. The full text of this study, Impact of Cannabis Use During Stabilization on Methadone Maintenance Treatment, appears online in the American Journal on Addictions. That is the end of our hemp news segment tonight. We're going to jump over to Mr. John Cornett. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, Paul. Thank you very much.
Great.
You know, I wasn't going to do another song, but it just occurred to me. I need to do a happy song tonight.
I like happy.
Do a happy song tonight. So I'm going to start out with a song called So Good.
All right.
We like train wreck, northern lights. We like Shrek too, sour diesel. Life is good. Life is good. Life is good for you and me. So good. So good. So good. So good. We like God, but purple haze. We like cheese too. Cinderella. Life is good. Life is good. That's right. Life is good for you and me. So good. So good. So good. So good. That's right. It don't matter which you like. Don't matter when you do it. Just matters that you do it right. Get down to it. So good. So good. So good. We like train wreck, northern lights. We like Shrek too, sour diesel. Life is good. Life is good. Life is good for you and me. So good. So good. So good. So good.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's John Cornett. Welcome, Casper.
Thank you so much.
And welcome, viewers. If you have a question for us tonight about ending adult marijuana prohibition, restoring industrial hemp, or helping medical marijuana patients, please give us a call at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442.
I got a question. I like you. I'm waking up to the news that Detroit is one of the largest cities in America now in the history of the United States to file bankruptcy. that they've got enough money to go tracking down little Johnny and little Susie because they're touching the plant. They got enough money to prosecute these people through courts, but they don't have enough money to turn on their lights. They don't have enough money to keep the people going in City Hall. They don't have enough money to fix the potholes. They have to close the libraries. They got over 700,000 people that they can't even afford to pay. But they can sure as heck run down somebody who's got a little half ounce in their pocket and give them a heartburn. And on top of that, they even turn their back on the revenue that can be generated from the what we call as the industry of medical marijuana. What is up with the city leaders, Paul?
That's a good question. I mean, you know, it's really about money and power and the continued centralization of economic and political control, especially with the disproportionate impact of marijuana prohibition on communities of color. And Detroit is largely a community of color. You know, we operate an office in Detroit and see patients in Michigan. And I've been there dozens of times and helped thousands of medical marijuana patients get their Michigan medical marijuana permit. But the city has run down. They've shrunk from a city of 700,000, from 2 million people back in 1960 to 700,000 today. And so their tax base has disappeared. The people who have money have moved away. And every resident owes $25,000 as their share of that debt. So the best thing that could possibly happen was that they would declare bankruptcy and try to restructure that debt, because they obviously don't have the resources to pay it.
Well, in order to restructure that
And
debt,
that's not just the case in Michigan. That's the case in many state and municipal entities. Their retirement systems are dramatically growing in terms of the amount of money that it takes to maintain them, but the amount of funds going in there are not enough. They're mostly insolvent. That includes here in Oregon, Washington, and most states.
Well, it sounds like they need to get their priorities organized and quit arresting medical marijuana patients, sick
and
people.
allow us to add to the economic growth through our medicine, our social cannabis use. Here in Oregon alone, the beer and wine industry is a $5 billion a year business.
Plus, I think here in our state we have a governor that's really comfortable with the idea of not only medical marijuana being in place, but the idea, as you say, social use of marijuana being put into place. We got members of our own legislative body who understand the revenue that can be generated from it.
Well,
we have mayors who recognize tourism industry.
We just had the most productive legislative session for marijuana law reform in Oregon history. A number of penalties for marijuana have been reduced, and the state legislature has set up a dispensary system for medical marijuana patients that will be fleshed out over the coming year. So, and they added post-traumatic stress as a qualifying condition to medical marijuana, a major issue for recent veterans returning from Afghanistan and Iraq, in addition to other people who've been through traumatic instances.
Michael Krowitz helped make that happen, and a big shout out to Michael Krowitz for all the hard work you do.
Past
Oh,
guest.
and I got a surprise. I got good news in the email. Yours truly has been asked to be a guest speaker at the Seattle Hemp Fest this year. And to be honest, I am very honored, and I'm looking forward to it. So if you want to come on out, thank you so much. Thank you for all the hard work I've done. They have been nice enough to invite me. So not only will I be speaking at the Portland Hemp Stock this year, thank you so much, I'm also a guest speaker at the Seattle Hemp Fest. And I want to say thank you to everybody out there who has made that happen.
All the core staff of the Seattle Hemp Fest deserves a lot of credit for everything they do to put on that huge event on the Seattle waterfront. If you haven't been to the Seattle Hemp Fest, you probably should go there and check it out. It happens this year on Friday, August 16th, Saturday the 17th, and Sunday, August 19th. And it is more than 100,000 people on the waterfront in downtown Seattle, directly below the Space Needle. And our organization, THCF Medical Clinics and hemp.org, are the presenting sponsors of the Seattle Hemp Fest. And I've been speaker there many years. I'm glad they've added you on. And also the editor of our newsletter, Hemp News, is also a speaker, Steve Elliott.
And this is the first year that it is legal to enjoy
It's the first legal
recreational
hemp fest. And,
marijuana.
THCF has been the sponsor, the only presenting sponsor that the Seattle Hemp Fest has ever had. We've been a sponsor many years, but about 6-7 years ago, they introduced this presenting sponsor concept where they print your name saying, THC Foundation presents the Seattle Hemp Fest. And so we've been in that position for every year they've had that. I think this is going to be our 7th year. And it's the 22nd year of the Seattle Hemp Fest.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking, when I got my invitation, it brought back to my mind.
There's their website right there at hempfest.org. That's hempfest.org. And you can see right up there, it has our logo saying we love THC Foundation and Hemp and Cannabis Foundation.
It brought back to my mind me working in Jack's office 22 years ago. And Jack Hare saying, Casper, I don't know. I kind of envision hemp concerts and hemp festivals all around the world celebrating industrial hemp and medical marijuana and the end of prohibition. And I can just see it. And Captain Ed would kind of giggle, and they'd pass back and forth this bowl, and they'd tell me to take a break. And 22 years later, I get to be a part of the Seattle Hemp Fest, where we get to enjoy the first legal.
Well, there's another one actually that comes
Amazing.
Up this weekend in Olympia. There's a Olympia Hemp Fest on the waterfront right below the state capitol in Olympia. That's the Olympia Hemp Fest. And then also this weekend, I know there's an event with at Multnomah Wellness on Saturday, which is a local dispensary.
Still, the idea of going from sitting in Jack's office running the little computer and mailing out T-shirts to being in Seattle 22 years later, where 200,000 people come together and legally smoke marijuana and celebrate industrial hemp. I don't know, Paul. It's just
we've got a question online. So our online audience is asking this question. If hemp were legal in the Midwest, do you think Ford Motor Company could use hemp in their cars?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, Mercedes-Benz currently does use hemp in their cars, and the Ford Motor Company invented several hemp body and hemp fuel cars that Henry Ford himself drove, and there are videos online of Henry Ford swinging a sledgehammer and at the hemp composite body and it bouncing off and not bending. So Ford could certainly do that if it's good enough for Henry Ford and it's good enough for Mercedes-Benz today and BMW and others. Well, and last week I think we had a door panel from this new Canadian electric door that the folks at NACA, a store in Multnomah Village, had delivered from Ziggy Marley. So the folks at NACA had brought this hemp door panel in. So certainly,
and it would only be if they were forward-thinking enough to do that, because still many members of our manufacturing industry seem to be slow to embrace hemp. I mean, we've even got the new industry of 3D printing that needs all these great filaments for the 3D printers, and they are slow to embrace the hemp industry. I know our friend Paul Benham down in
Tasmania. He's
yeah,
in Tasmania,
he creates a hemp
right
plastic.
now.
He's producing for the 3D printers now.
You know,
and
we were talking about the events. Of course, we've got the Seattle Hemp Fest coming up on August 16th, 17th, and 18th.
Right.
And that's the largest in the world. Then we have our Portland Hemp Stock Festival that takes place on September 7th and 8th. That's Saturday and Sunday, September 7th and 8th. We'll have John Trudell there and many other folks. So check out the Portland Hemp Stock Festival. You can find out more at hempstock.org. Then a week later, I'll be making a presentation in Spain at the San Sebastian Expo Grow. You can find out more about that at expogrow.net. That's expogrow.net. I'll make a presentation about reform here in the United States. They invited me to come over, and since they bought my wife and I tickets and put us in a hotel room, I could hardly complain about that. But in looking at this town of San Sebastian, which sits in the Basque Country, right on the border between France and Spain, you know, they're asking me to speak on September 14th. And so a week later, on September 20th, they have the second largest film festival in Europe, the San Sebastian International Film Festival. The movie Star Wars was actually introduced there. Cool. Woody Allen's rolled out several of his movies. So we're going to try to introduce, we've entered that. We'll find out in a few weeks whether our movie, The Green Goddess, is accepted into the San Sebastian Film Festival. I'm thinking we can use, there's about 100,000 people that go to this Expo Grow. I'm thinking we can build the buzz about the Green Goddess so that a week later, the people there in San Sebastian, some of them at least, will show up for that movie. And we have a little film clip, ironically, ready to roll about the Green Goddess. So
Good
enjoy.
timing.
Isn't it,
trailer
though?
contains real marijuana. Legend has it that deep within the THC crystal of the marijuana plant, there lives a goddess. A goddess so incredible that meeting her will transform your life forever.
She's magnificent, glorious, beautiful, delicious.
I want to meet her.
You start with a strain like this, nurture her, worship her. When your mind is open, she will come.
When their leader is arrested, 3 friends will travel halfway across the world, plant 25,000 marijuana plants, and harvest more organic ganja than you and all of your friends could smoke in 3 lifetimes. Whoa, that's a lot of pot.
You from America? Yep. So you think you can just come over to Europe, grow some weed, and make a whole bunch of money? Doesn't work like that.
All I know is, after how some of y'all treated the son, the Lord felt the need to hide his daughter. And he hid her in the most sacred of sacred places.
They have only one chance to get it right and to meet one goddess. Would you like to meet the Green Goddess?
All right, and you may. And you may. If you go to Green Goddess the movie, Green Goddess the movie, and the film has also been entered in the Portland International Film Festival that's coming up in September as well. So hopefully you'll be able to see it in that competition. It's just about to have its world premiere, either at the Portland Film Festival or this one in San Sebastian. So that'll be its first official showing.
Excellent.
We've had some screenings. They finally finished it. It has over 400 special effects sequences. The producers are saying they've got 420 special effects
420.
sequences.
Well, it did look like awesome
Which is
animation.
more than any other independent budget movie like this has ever had. So you can find out more. Now, if you have a question or comment this evening about ending adult marijuana prohibition, restoring industrial hemp, or helping medical marijuana patients, you can call us at that number there on your screen. It's 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. Also, we stream our show on Ustream. You can tell anyone in the world to tune in at ustream.tv. Just look for Cannabis Common Sense, and you can watch it there, and you can type in questions in the little text box off to the side of that, which through the magic of text messaging will appear to us, and we'll be able to attempt to answer your queries. Okay.
Well, a little shameless plug for my little radio show. We're doing something global too, while you're busy running around in Spain and having a good time, and
well, before
picking it
that,
up with all the
actually, you're gonna
Hollywood
do it
people.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if we're accepted into that film festival. We'll know.
Yeah, we are, and it starts every Friday in August. We're doing 2 hours of uninterrupted, commercial-free broadcasting, focusing on the reasons why industrial hemp, medical marijuana needs to be made available to our country and around the world, why all the prohibition laws need to be put on hold and replaced with no laws, and how we can make this happen. And we're bringing together 30 of the world's best minds that have worked diligently to end prohibition. And we have great moderators like Mary Lynn Mathry and Al Burns from Patients Out of Time, Andrea Herman is going to be joining us for the Industrial Hemp 2-hour segment. We got Ethan Nadelman, who will be popping in for the Solutions segment. Peter, Chris, and all the members
And
of
where
Leak.
could people find your radio show on the internet?
On
Casper?
AmericanFreedomRadio.com, AM, FM stations all across America, and on the Roku network. And please share this with your friends.
Makes sense to me.
And that will be from 9 to 11 a.m. every Friday in August. So do make it a point to tune in. Thank you.
Certainly, certainly. So we had some other news
Oh, man, I'll tell you.
about. Go ahead.
The news, when I'm watching, the president came out today and started talking about how we got to re-examine the Stand Your Ground law and how he was at one time profiled and he knows what it likes.
Well,
And
you know, he was part of his high school chum gang, is
Oh,
what they
my
called it,
God.
was smoking marijuana. And so Trayvon had some marijuana in his system. Does that mean they can murder the kid?
Well, here's the deal.
I don't know.
If you want
it's
racial justice and you want to end profiling, don't come running out your door screaming about somebody you never met, whose family you don't even know, whose circumstances you're completely blind to, and be like Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson and pound yourself on the chest screaming, "We want racial justice," up and down the halls of Congress, when you were nowhere to be found when these Jim Crow laws were put into place and have remained in place year after year. These prohibition laws that keep down not only the black community, but the poor community, the rich community, all of us, and put us on a nasty playing field to deal with. You want to end profiling, you want to end a problem with the black market, you want to bring to a halt the violent crimes, Mr. President, do so by looking at the right problem, not the Band-Aid that's on it. Start looking at the prohibition laws that keep more black men under lock and key.
That's a very good point.
Either under lock and key.
There is the racial disparity. You know, we have a couple of calls standing by, though.
I just want to get this one point out.
Okay, go ahead.
Under lock and key, either in jail cells or at home, under prohibition, under some kind of government watch than we had during the Civil War. So there are more black men right now under the thumb of our government than ever before. So, Mr. President, you want to end this racial disparity, you want to end this violent crime, you want to end all of those problems, don't look at the problems that are on the surface, look at the cause and prohibition.
All right. We have a couple telephone calls. Welcome to our show, caller. Hello, caller.
Hey, Paul. Hey, Casper.
How are you doing? Is this Michael?
No.
No, okay. Well, welcome to the show anyway.
Yeah, this is Red at Alternative Wellness Center.
Hey, great.
Hey, from all of us here, we just wanted to say thank you for all that you do for the movement and trying to get things right.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and then we wanted to find out about maybe could we get a banner set like that that's behind you there to put in our shop?
Yeah, we've got some. We'll
We'd
talk.
like to have one here in the shop if we could.
Okay, we'll do it.
All right. Hi, Nikki, David, take care if you guys are there. Hi, everybody.
All right. I know she's watching. I don't think she's here right
bye-bye.
now.
And yes,
Thanks.
we are. Hi, everybody. Thank you.
All right, we have another phone call. Let's take that other phone call. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hi, guys. Hi, guys.
How are you? Well, he tried to talk.
That sounded like Chris Conrad's voice.
Call back. I thought the other one was someone else too, so better to.
And then the other thing.
Sound effects.
You want me to do my other rant?
No, let's see if we have another film clip we're going to run.
Well, all right.
Then we'll come back and you can rant some more, man.
Oh, I do that
But
sometimes.
you're such a good ranter. We have a film clip from Jorge Cervantes talking about seeds and clones, so
He's
stay
amazing.
tuned.
He's
we'll
great.
be back in just a moment.
Yeah.
Seeds result from sexual propagation and contain genes from both parent plants, male and female. The genetics contained within the seed will dictate the resulting plant size, disease and pest resistance, root, stem, leaf, and flower production, cannabinoid level, and many other vital traits. Strong seeds produce healthy plants and heavy harvests. If it weren't for the seed companies here in Vancouver and BC, we wouldn't have been able to have access to so many different grow rooms. They really helped us out a lot, and I'd like to go through and thank each and every one of them personally. First, I'd like to start with Kind Seeds, who was nice enough to loan us quite a few things and get us into a lot of different grow rooms. The next is Reeferman Seeds, and he's done incredible things. He really helped us out. We have Next Generation Seed Company, Vancouver Island Seeds, Liberty Seeds, and then there's Legend Seeds. They helped us get into several different places. And DJ Short, creator of Blueberry. And the last one is Chimera Seeds, whose seeds you can see here in front of us, and we're fortunate enough to have Chimera here today. Hey Chimera, how you doing?
Pretty good, Jorge. How are you doing?
Great, great. What makes a good seed?
Well, generally just the basic is you want a good seed that's hard and dark. And you take it, you pick it up between your fingers, and you squeeze it. If it breaks, it's not a good seed. It's generally not going to be viable.
Here's a shot of hash plant. Notice the seeds are just about ripe. Let me pull one of these out. Nice, solid, dark seed. Definitely ripe. That's a viable seed right now. This one is still growing and it's developing. This simple illustration of a seed reveals an embryo containing the genes and a supply of food wrapped in a protective outer coating. Mature seeds that are hard, beige to dark brown, and spotted or mottled have the highest germination rate. Soft, pale, or green seeds are usually immature and should be avoided. These seeds right here in my hand,
yeah, they're very light colored, they don't weigh very much, and when you squeeze them between your fingers, they just snap.
Oh yeah, that could easily be bird seed. Store seeds in a cool, dark, dry place, and make sure to label containers. Some seeds will remain viable for 5 years or longer when properly stored. Once you get a seed, once you order the seed and it comes to you, what's next? What do you do with that seed?
Well, you want to get the seed into a position where it's able to grow, and that means giving it enough water that the plant can take it into the embryo and start dividing its cells and growing into a new plant. You can soak it in a glass of water,
okay.
Allow the cells to soften a little bit and give the plant a little kickstart into life, and then they can either be planted in a paper towel or placed directly into the growing medium.
Soaking seeds in water allows moisture to penetrate the protective seed shell. Common household water contains enough dissolved solids to nurture seeds through their first few weeks of life. For a viable seed, generally you want to find something that will sink in water. Cannabis seeds need only water, heat, and air to germinate. They do not need fertilizer, extra hormones, or any light. Properly nurtured, seeds will germinate in 2 to 7 days, in temperatures from 70 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. During germination, the outside protective shell of the seed splits, and a tiny white sprout called the root or taproot pops out. Next, cotyledon or seed leaves emerge from within the shell as they push upward in search of light. This is a germinated seed right there with a root about an inch long on it. This has been germinated for 2 to 3 days, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this very carefully, very tenderly with my fingers like this. I actually could use tweezers that are very delicate, and then I'll take this and carefully put it into this hole here, a pre-drilled hole, and set it down like that. Push it down. Notice my fingers down about 1/4 of an inch, and then I'm pushing the top in. So now this seed is in really good contact with the rock wool cubes here. Plant seeds twice as deep as the width of the seed and use a medium such as ProMix, which allows adequate airflow. Cannabis seeds grow best at 78 degrees Fahrenheit. Once germinated, move seedlings to a slightly cooler growing area and increase light levels. These tall, thin plants here were a seed exactly 1 week ago. And this one here, the last to germinate, has the cotyledon or seed leaves on it. In a few days, it will develop true leaves, which are the serrated leaves with the veins in them. During seedling growth, a root system develops rapidly, while green, above-ground growth remains slow. The new, fragile root system requires a small but constant supply of water and warmth. Too much water will drown roots and often leads to root rot. Lack of water will cause the infant root system to dry up. Underneath the tray is a heating mat. And this heating mat heats the growing medium, so it's a little warmer. And if the growing medium stays a few degrees warmer, the roots will grow faster. Well, here I am in a breeding house, or a house full of seedlings. Seedlings require at least 16 hours of light daily, and require less intense light than they will need at later stages. If you order 10 seeds and germinate them immediately, expect that only 2 or 3 will grow into strong super females. The rest will be male, weak, or not germinate at all. As the seedlings mature, cull any sickly, weak plants and focus attention on the remaining strong survivors. One will be more robust and potent than her siblings, and therefore be selected as the mother of countless super clones. I'll explain more in detail about cloning in a few minutes. Seeds are available everywhere. You can find them advertised in High Times magazine. You can find them on the internet. Just type in cannabis seeds and you'll see hundreds of seed companies show up.
Let's have a puff of this joint before we go.
I was hoping you'd ask. Let me see. Here's a lighter. Let's fire this spliff up. Oh, yeah.
All right. That's what we're going to do after the show.
Yeah, baby.
We don't do that in our studio here.
No, actually, we don't even. I hate it when people accuse us of being the kind of people that get together and smoke out after the show, because we don't. We vaporize out.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
We have a caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Thank you, guys. Sorry I lost you there in the earlier, but
glad you made it back.
yeah, here's the thing, guys. I don't have a dog in this fight because I don't use marijuana, but I do have a big concern with government intrusion in our lives, with government stomping all over our liberty and our right to be free, because, face it, we're not. And this drug war has cost so many innocent lives.
And civil liberties.
Well, here's the reason I'm calling your show. I've watched it a few times. You guys seem to want some type of regulation. Why don't you just go for no regulation?
Well,
Get the hell out of our life.
We're doing that in one form. We have a constitutional amendment. It is now initiative petition number 21, and it simply says that people have a right to grow it and that the state can regulate it. That's all it says. Very simple. You know, constitutional amendments are our social compact, so this simply says that it can be legal. And then on the other hand, we have what would be a regulatory model as well. And we have 3 other initiatives that have nothing to do with marijuana. One says that people, natural individuals, have more rights than corporations, governments, artificial intelligence, and artificial individuals, as corporations are considered. As you may know, with the Supreme Court ruling on Citizens United a few years ago, now corporations have more rights than people do. That has terrible implications for the future of personal liberty, especially in with the convergence of nanotechnology, genetic technology, and artificial intelligence. So we have one constitutional amendment that would expand natural individual rights and explicitly give people a right to exercise privacy. We have another constitutional amendment that says natural individuals, people, own their own DNA and that it's open source, subject to personal privacy. Then last but not least, we say that the state money will go into a state-run bank instead of into Wells Fargo and Chase, where they can invest it in Mongolia and the tar sands of Alberta, and that money will be used to enhance Oregon's economy. There's already been one state with a state bank, North Dakota, and they've had it for a little over 100 years, and it's helped their economy a great deal. So we're going beyond just mere cannabis policy, and one of our initiatives addresses that issue that you were talking about. But we also advocate sensible regulation that's a lot less intrusive than the ones that were put forward in Washington and Colorado.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that, because like I said, I'm not a marijuana user, but I would support something that would actually get the government completely out of it. I'm paraphrasing Thomas Jefferson here, I think it was, nothing for tyranny, not one penny, but everything for liberty. And if you guys can get an initiative like that, I would definitely support it, and I'm glad to hear it, and hopefully there's other people out there wondering the same thing, and you answered their question too. So
good.
Thank you guys, and good luck.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're in the process of these petitions. We've turned in 2,000 signatures, which starts the ballot title process, and we should have petitions on the street either sometime this fall. So maybe by September, maybe a little later than that. But we have 5 petitions, 2 marijuana-oriented ones, one that says we own our own DNA and that DNA can't be patented, that it's open source, like open source software. Another one says the state will have a state bank instead of us putting our money into these private banks that then make money loaning it back to the state and other public entities. This money will be held by the state and used for economic development in the state of Oregon. And then the last one says we expand natural individual rights. So you can find out more about that. That website right there on your screen, crrh.org. Think we have another caller?
Well,
no, that's it for now.
And I personally have no problem with regulation. I like it. I want to be able to walk into a dispensary and know that the marijuana that I'm pointing to for glaucoma is for that, or the marijuana I'm pointing to.
If you buy tainted tomatoes and you get salmonella or food poisoning, you want to go back to the source and see where, if someone's spraying DDT on their cannabis, I don't want to smoke it. I want it, that to be tested and to be safe from
anybody's making a nice edible for me or a brownie for me, I want to make sure there's no cat hair in it or any rat hair in it that's being served to me before I decide to take it and bite into it. So it's nice to have regulation in some aspect. I mean, it makes a lot of sense in those aspects, and in order for that to happen, you've got to be able to pay taxes to be able to pay for the people to oversee the proper regulations. I understand that, but I also, like the gentleman said, think that if you want to grow a little bit in your backyard, like you make beer or wine, up to so many gallons in your own home privately, no taxes, share it with your friends, that's your business.
We have another online question for our studio, our audience out there on Ustream.tv. The question is, how can patients decide which access point, club, or clinic is best for them? Well, obviously, it's whatever's in your vicinity will be of interest. Economic factors such as cost and the quality of the product, but it's the old Latin term for let the buyer beware. You have to be careful and shop around and make sure you have you like the business you're doing business with. So
another reason for
I wish I could give you a little more specific things, but these dispensaries are opening up. It's difficult transition. They aren't regulated yet. Outside of Multnomah County, they're facing arrest. Several in Southern Oregon have been arrested, even over in Washington County. They arrested the Human Collective, and they're putting those poor people through a legal hell. And so, it's to select the right club is something you have to do just through trial and error. And word of mouth if you hear some specific recommendations.
What is up with these raids? I mean, I thought it was legal here in the state to have legal marijuana.
But it's not legal to sell it. But now the legislature's passed this bill, but the governor hasn't signed it yet, that will regulate these dispensaries. Those regulations won't take place till next year.
All right.
So it's still an unregulated market, and the folks who have opened these dispensaries have taken a risk, and
yes, they have.
It's something I tell people who ask me if I want to open a dispensary. I said, okay, well, just you be prepared to be arrested and go to jail and come back and reopen and fight that battle or fight it through court, because you just might have to.
Right, exactly. Absolutely.
We have a little show and tell tonight. I have a number of new items in our collection of antique medical marijuana things. A couple items here are from a company called Fraser Tablet Manufacturing of New York City. And there are actually tablets in here. These are extract of cannabis indica. This is circa 1880.
Good Lord, that's old.
Yeah, and it's in great condition. This is another one from the Fraser Company, Cannabis Indica pills, and this is about half full. Nice little, carry it in your pocket. This one here is from the Schulman and Jones Company of Cleveland, Ohio. And Schulman and Jones.
Nice logo.
It's been produced according to the 1906 serial Food and Drug Law of June 30th, 1906.
Cool.
These next two are from Sharp and Dome, a company that until recently, this is Phosphorus and Cannabis Indica.
Now, what's
Sharp
phosphorus?
and Dome.
What is that?
It's a natural mineral that you can get through your diet. Some people might, and it's a gelatin-coated little tablets in there. There's probably about 30 or 40 little tiny tablets.
Nice.
There's an embossment on the top for S&D on the little thing. It's still wrapped in its original wax paper, as is this other Sharpened Dome. This is a fluid extract of cannabis indica from Sharpened Dome.
So they even called it indica and sativas back then, too.
They did. Now, here's a couple of interesting items that are corn and bunion medicines. This one is from Austin, Texas.
Corn
it's,
and bunion, really?
Yeah, ingredients is aspirin and cannabis indica in a wax base. And for 25 cents, you would get these. And this is from the Abrams Family Drugs at the corner of Capitol and 6th in Austin, Texas.
How cool.
The Raging Bull Bunion Plasters.
How
Raging
cool.
Bull Bunion Plasters. There they are. That's from Austin, Texas. I just happened to go down to Austin a couple weeks ago, and I also went to San Antonio, and I didn't get these there. This is just a coincidence. This is the Bullseye Corn Plaster, good for corns, bunions, calluses, and warts. And it contains 48 grams of cannabis indica per ounce from San Antonio, Texas, at the corner of Davis and Main Street. The Bullseye, and it says on the back here that it's manufactured under the Pure Food and Drug Act of June 30th, 1906. So these are circa the same time.
Nice.
Right next door, we have these pills that are from the Searle and Herath Company of Omaha, Nebraska. They're 500, when this thing was full, 500 what they call pulverous pills, Indian cannabis extract.
Nice.
I don't know, can you close in on that label? Maybe our, if you got HDTV. This one has a really nifty label and also has a glass top, which is very nice. It indicates it's from 1870 or 1880, and it is from Bohr and Taffel of New York, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. Extract of Indian cannabis. Fresh plant tincture. That's what it says.
Just
Fresh
more proof that they
plant
had
tincture. And it still has some residue
these
in the
great
bottom of the
products
bottle.
back
here.
in the day, right?
A bit of residue.
Tell us there's no history of medical
And then,
proof.
let's go on to this next one. Now, this is the whole reason marijuana is illegal.
Yep.
This is hemp seed oil with a hemp wick. And it is an illuminant. Hemp was an original illuminant before they used whale oil, before they were using petroleum. Hemp seed oil was one of the first illuminants used by humanity to light the first lamps. And this is the whole reason it's illegal, because you can pour this hemp oil right into any diesel engine, turn the key, and drive it. Hemp oil produces 3 times more seed oil than any other plant on the planet. It also produces 3 times more fiber. And here's some hemp twine. This is produced in China. Hemp twine from China. So the main reason marijuana is illegal is because of hemp oil and hemp fiber. And marijuana laws were created to stop the oil companies from competing with hemp fiber, with the introduction of new machinery that made hemp fuel and fiber much less expensive and much less expensive to process. Much as the cotton gin had made cotton much cheaper to process 100 years before. This new machinery, the decorticator, had made hemp fiber much cheaper. So the fuel and fiber companies put together a misinformation campaign we know as Reefer Madness, and came up with this name marijuana based on racist lies, as the name marijuana proves. I mean, it's based on anti-Hispanic and people of color racist propaganda that was prevalent in the 20s and 30s. And so here is the whole reason that marijuana is illegal. It has nothing to do with drugs. Drugs are a smokescreen. It's really about fuel and fiber.
Exactly.
And there's we're going to do this every week, folks.
Well, and
I just love the hemp candle idea. So this is our flame of freedom that we're going to be talking about each and every show.
And may I now make my comment?
Please. I'm sorry.
And what I think is really interesting is, see, we've got hemp, industrial hemp material right here. And we've got hemp oil here. And we've got medical marijuana here. Medical marijuana, industrial hemp, all cannabis. Now, look at me. These people at home who have a problem with using the word marijuana say, well, I don't want to be a part of a program that's got marijuana leaves on it, and you're encouraging marijuana smoking and medical marijuana. We are industrial hemp, and we want to disassociate ourselves with that leaf. Let me put a little bug in your ear. The plant that you grow has the same leaf on it. Hello, and it's also still outlawed. And these medical marijuana, I remember when I called up Ed Rosenthal and said, Ed, I'm not doing my podcast again. Do you want to be on Time for Hemp? And he said, no, not until you start calling it Time for Medical Marijuana, because I'm no longer in the hemp movement. I'm in the medical marijuana movement.
But he's come back again, back into the fold.
He has, but still. I'm just getting a point across that everybody wants to call it sativa or cannabis or medical marijuana or industrial hemp. But don't call it this, don't call it that. Well, let me tell you something. Whatever you call it, it's outlawed. Whatever you call it, it's illegal to grow. Whatever you call it, if you're holding it, you're going to jail. Our farmers can't make cash off of it. And while you're standing there playing semantics about what you're going to call a rose, people are going behind bars, and we are not moving forward. Quit playing games with the name of the plant and start playing games with the government and get focused on ending prohibition. Thank you, Paul.
And that's what we're trying to do with our petition campaigns. We will not have the petitions ready for public signature gathering until the fall, but if you want to get involved in that, or if you want help locating a doctor who can help you with medical marijuana, you can call us at that number there on your screen. It's 50. Any of those conditions qualify for medical marijuana, and now PTSD's on there in January of 2014.
And somebody who loves industrial hemp is you. Jack Hare wrote his book In Your Kitchen. And you were talking about industrial hemp long before anybody even knew what it was. And Paul Stanford has forgotten more about industrial hemp than most people will ever learn.
I hope I haven't forgotten it.
As much as you smoke, you probably have.
No, I don't think so. I think that, cannabis is a neuroprotective. Actually, they found that microdoses of cannabis, a couple of days before or a couple of days after a traumatic event, can protect your brain and protect your cardiovascular system. So cannabis is a neuroprotectant. We were told that it was killing our brain cells. Well, alcohol does kill some brain cells. We have a lot of them, but alcohol does kill them. But marijuana protects your brain. It doesn't actually harm it, though it does have an effect on memory, and that's why it helps patients with post-traumatic stress. And what I found when I smoke marijuana, I don't have dreams. And when I quit smoking marijuana, I have very vivid dreams a couple of days later. So that is an indication of its ability to control post-traumatic stress.
Awesome.
But, you selectively forget things. It used to be I could remember 300 different telephone numbers when I, didn't have a cell phone. Now that I have a cell phone, I remember the ones I had 20 and 30 years ago, but I can't remember most other people's numbers anymore because my phone does it for me. So it's a matter of selectively concentrating your memory. And one of the most important things is weeding out the things that aren't important, And so if you remembered every car you passed on the highway or every commercial you saw every day, you'd go crazy. So you have to forget the small stuff and remember the important stuff.
Or the things that
upset cannabis assists in that.
Selective memory is like you forget the things that upset you, like what's his
face
in the White House.
Marijuana causes intelligent thought, relaxation, a feeling of peacefulness and oneness and enjoyment of your surroundings. In fact, in Switzerland and in the Netherlands, they give people in prison marijuana because it helps them in their to handle the stress and problems associated with incarceration. So in Switzerland and the Netherlands, if you go to prison, you can legally get marijuana if you're a good prisoner.
Which makes me want to fly to Switzerland and go hold up a bank. Hell yeah!
I don't recommend that.
No?
I don't recommend
All right, well. And again, like I say, it helps you selectively forget the things that upset you, like what's his face in the White House. I don't remember what his name is. The guy who was there before him.
Mr. Change.
And then the guy before him married to Barbara. And
let's not go.
Anyway, so.
The burning bushes. We have one last phone call in about 3.5 minutes. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller.
Our caller's
Is there a
hitting
call?
the pipe, so that's
Uh-oh. What can you say?
Well, I got
you
one.
want to put in a quick plug? Hello?
Paul, Casper, can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. I'm sorry about the, I apologize.
It's okay.
My quick question is that if I wanted to detoxify my body, ridding myself from my medication for a period of 30 days for certain reasons, for example, like employment, what type of natural ingredients would you recommend?
Oh, I just recommend eating and drinking regularly. And if you're going to wait 30 days, it'll be out of your system. You won't have to worry about it.
Well,
you know, people have endogenous cannabinoids that naturally cause these tests to register 15 to 30 nanograms. And usually they don't consider a positive test till you're above 30 to 50 nanograms. So everyone has this endogenous cannabinoid that turns out as metabolites in these drug tests. But these metabolites are inactive. So if you're going to wait 30 days, you don't have to worry about taking anything. Just, you know, eat healthy and eat right.
Well, and if you're going to clean your system,
and drink a lot.
If you're going to clean your system out, you might as well go ahead and eat a lot of fruit and vegetables and drink a lot of cranberry sauce and cranberry juice and orange juice. While you're at it, take advantage of the situation and put nothing but healthy stuff in your body, and give yourself 500 calories.
Something, of course, we don't do. But, you know,
give yourself 500 calories
trying.
less than what you need. That will also help you become a little more
But some
energized.
of the people in our studio audience do.
Right.
Well, I want to thank you for that call. Good luck with your employment.
One last question here.
Yes.
Is that if I'm a licensed medical user, and if I want to self-medicate, I usually do it like maybe once a week. Do you think if I did it like once on one day and then I waited 7 days and then detoxified, do you think that I would be safe on that?
If you're not a frequent user, it could be. It could be. Some infrequent users like that, if you don't have a lot of body fat, because it's stored in body fat. So the more fat you have, the longer it'll take to get out of your system. Because it's oil soluble. Listen, we're down to about a minute left. But I thank you for your question, and I'm sure that's helped a few other people who are in similar straits. All right, thank you. And so, Casper, time for hemp.
AmericanFreedomRadio.com, AM, FM stations all across America from 10 to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Please tune in and take Time for Hemp and go to timeforhemp.com and hit the donate button. Thank you, Paul.
And go to our website at crrh.org or hemp.org. Call our office about medical marijuana or getting involved in ending adult marijuana prohibition and help us restore hemp. We have Mr. John Cornett. Thank you, John. And thank you, viewers. Good night.
Some folks like tomatoes, some like rhubarb pie. I like when my vegetables get me a little high. May not be for everyone, may not fit your needs, but this incredible edible vegetable is more than just a weed.
Vegetable.